Hello beautiful people, I am Uncle Fidget. Completing Pokemon Crystal with only one Mew using nothing but HM moves was super easy. So let's try something a little more difficult as we take on the Hoenn region. As always, let's go over the HMs in this generation. Hoenn has a total of 8 HMs, 5 of which are required to complete the game. Cut gets dropped from the list, but Strength and Surf are back as always. We get the joy of Rock Smash and Waterfall once more, and we have the new Dive to deal with. Unlike Crystal, where I only had one Pokemon I could choose that could learn all of the moves that I needed, Emerald has a plethora of available options, but only one that really suits the spirit of this challenge, and that is Crawdaunt, for reasons that I hope will become clear soon. Crawdaunt has really good attack and alright special attack, but its speed and special defense really drag it down, so I'll have to be super over leveled if I intend to move first in any of these battles. Just like my previous runs, I'll only be allowed to use Crawdaunt, and will have to load them up with every HM I require along the way. To make it more difficult, once I learn the HMs, I will only be allowed to use those moves. I can't use items in battle, but held items and items outside of battle are fine. Before we get going, don't forget to leave a comment predicting how high of a level I'll have to beat Steven. With that out of the way, let's get started. I used the Universal Randomizer to replace Mudkip with Corphish, that way we can do our entire run with them. This also means that our rival will start with Trico, who will be super effective against us to make this challenge even harder. I name our Corphish Subscribe, for no particular reason. Wink wink, hint hint, nudge nudge. This run did not start off great, with Subscribe only having access to Harden and Bubble, which would be resisted by Mage Trico, and it has a timid nature, which means we lose attack and gain speed, so it's just about the worst one we could have gotten. Given this, we actually have to grind up to level 8 before we even stand a chance in our first fight. But then, thanks to a lucky crit and simply having more health, we managed to take the victory eventually. This, unfortunately though, was a sign of things to come. Remember I said that Crawdaunt was the only Pokemon that fit the spirit of this challenge? Well, that's because out of all the Pokemon that can learn the 5 necessary HMs, it's the only one that could also learn Cut. And, unlike other games, where you wouldn't get the first HM until after the first or second badge, we can pick it up as soon as we reach Rustboro City. Which means we can teach it to Subscribe before taking on Roxanne, the Rock-type gym leader. Oh joy. As you can imagine, I had to do some grinding. So I fought every trainer I could and took on Roxanne at level 18. And I couldn't get past our first Geodude. So the fun begins. After just under 2 hours of grinding, I returned at level 27 to finally stand a chance. In this run, her first Geodude misses her first 2 Rock Tombs, allowing us to get them down to within 1 hit before taking damage. Roxanne then heals her up with a potion, but we get a crit to bring it back into yellow health. One more cut leaves it with a sliver of health, as our speed continues to be ruined by Rock Tomb, and we miss our finishing blow. We finally take out her first Geodude, and then have to start all over again with her next one, which goes almost identically. She misses 2 Rock Tombs as we take 3 hits to get it into yellow health. She potions back up, but instead of critting, this time we miss our next hit. It takes 4 hits to finally put Geodude down, and thanks to our Oranberry, we face Nosepass with 43 health left. Thanks to all the Rock Tombs, Nosepass is actually faster than us. We barely do any damage to it, and to make things even worse, it starts using Harden. I have no choice but to keep hitting it with Cut over and over, hoping that I get a crit to break through its defenses before it tackles us to death. We do eventually get the needed crit, but the damage is immediately healed back up by her Oranberry. With only 6 PP left and still missing every few hits, I was worried I'd have to evolve Corphish before I could beat the first gym. But against all odds, with our final PP of Cut, we land another crit and are able to win the first badge. That was brutal. With that done, we go to fight May, and due to our level, the fight takes no time at all. Then we have to go over to Dewford Town to take on Brawly, and we manage to outmuscle his Machop and Meditite, taking both down in 2 hits as they attempt to set up. Makuhita, however, takes just under half health as he gets a bulk up in, and after our next hit, he lands a powerful reversal doing massive damage to us. His Citrus Berry procs, and thanks to bulk up boosting his defenses, it takes us 2 more hits to get him into red health, and then Brawly just uses a super potion. Lucky for us though, we managed to get a crit and wipe out Makuhita. Whilst at Dewford, I picked up the Silk Scarf, allowing our Cut and later Strength to be a bit more powerful. We then rush towards Marvel City and once again run into May. Her Wingull holds on from our first hit and confuses us before going down. Grovyle is faster than Subscribe, and not only is Absorb doing a lot of damage, but we then hit ourselves in confusion. One more Absorb takes us to 25 HP before we land a crit and take Grovyle out in 1 hit. We miss our first hit against Slugma, but May decides to use Ember, so when on the next turn she actually uses Yawn, is too little too late, and we take the win. In our next fight, Corphish finally evolves into Crawdaunt, which I will point out is necessary because Corphish can't learn Dive. And then we go and talk to the Rock Smash guy. I'll give you 3 guesses as to why. We then meet Wally outside of the gym and show him how someone who only has 1 Pokemon with them really handles themselves. Just before we hit another brick wall in this run, in the form of Watson. You'd imagine his electric types would be somewhat challenging for us, but it was the paralysis that really cost us the fight again and again. And every time I tried to use a Cherry Berry, either Electrike or Manectric Static would activate, the Cherry Berry would proc, and then Manectric would just use Thunder Wave, paralyzing us again. So I went back to using the Silk Scarf. At level 37, we finally get a run where we take out Voltorb in a single cut, and Electrike doesn't paralyze us as it too goes down in 1 hit. We use Rock Smash to lower Manectric's defense, and as expected, it uses Thunder Wave, slowing us down. It only uses its free attack to Howl, however, so 1 cut finishes him off, and it's on to Magneton. They miss a Supersonic, but we get paralyzed. But on the next turn when they miss again, we land our Rock Smash, and although it doesn't lower their defense, it is a 3-hit KO. They miss again as 1 more Rock Smash puts them into Super Potion range, but this time we get the defense drop, so that when Watson does Super Potion, we are able to break through paralysis twice to take out Magneton. We head over to Rust Turf Tunnel to reunite a couple, and the guy gives us strength out of gratitude. I have only just realized. Rust Turf Tunnel, connecting Rust Burrow and Verdant Turf. Rust Turf. Okay, sorry, we can continue. At the top of Mount Chimney, we fight with Maxie over a rock. His Mighty Enna has Intimidate, so Subscribe's attack is lowered from the start, and means we need 2 strengths to take him down. And that lets him get in a Sand attack. His Zubat goes down in 1 hit, and unfortunately we don't have Surf yet for Camerupt, so he hangs on from a strength. Then Maxie heals him up. We miss our free hit, but our next one crits and takes him out in 1 turn, so we're able to finish off Maxie and move on. Archie seems to think that this now makes us friends, but we're not, Archie. Do you hear me? We're not friends. On to Flannery. Still lacking a Water-type move, we have nothing but our Resistance to help us in this gym. But both Numel and Slugma go down in a single hit, and Rock Smash lowers Camerupt's defense, so 1 strength then puts it down. I tried the same strategy against Torkoal, but I just wasn't getting the defense drop. Regardless, we made strength a 2-shot, and Body Slam isn't doing much damage, but then we get paralyzed. She's able to get us into yellow health before we land the finisher. Next, I attempt to resolve my daddy issues, and Spinder goes down in a single hit. I know Slacking is the tank, so I use Rock Smash, and manage to lower its defenses, but Facade does a lot of damage. Strength then activates his Citrus Berry, so that when we hit him again, he's left with a little bit of health, and Norman pulls out the Hyper Potion. Oh, and he yawned us, so even though our next strength is a crit and leaves him with like 1 health, we go to sleep. Facade, again, does huge damage as we stay asleep, but luckily wake up before Slacking stops loafing around, and we're able to move on to Vigoroth. He would have been a 2-hit KO, but of course Norman Hyper Potions. Despite this, we're able to finish it off, and face Linoon with just 28 HP remaining. Lucky for us, we hang on with 9 HP after a headbutt, and are able to take the win. After that, Wally's father rewards us for beating sense into his son earlier, and gives us Surf. Despite some hiccups, the run was going very well. Then it happened. After clearing Team Aqua out of the Weather Institute, this scientist just thrusts an abomination into our care. We have no chance to refuse, so now I have a cast form. We'll just hide it in the PC and never speak of this again. Across the water, May tries to fight us again. Slugma, 1 hit. Grovyle, 1 hit. Lombre, 1 hit once it stopped messing around with Fake Out. She's so impressed with our battle prowess that she gives us the HM for Fly. No, you little tease. We eventually reach Winona, who I remember being a lot scarier. Her Swablu goes down in a single hit. Tropius takes 2 hits, but just wastes time trying to charge a Solar Beam. Pelipper wastes a bunch of time using Protect and confusing us, so that we hurt ourselves before taking it down. Skarmory falls in a single Surf, and it's on to our Ace Altaria. 1 strength takes it to half health as it Dragon Dances, but then Ace of Berry and heals up. It now outspeeds us and goes for Dragon Breath, making us paralyzed, and we're unable to move that turn. She goes for another Dragon Dance, which is somewhat terrifying, as I have to swap Surf to not put her in Hyper Potion range. She then lands an Earthquake that does surprisingly little, all things considered, before we use one more strength to finish her off. At the top of Mount Pyre, friendless Archie proves he's an idiot by presuming that the red orb is somehow used for Kyogre and not the blue orb. Well, you know what they say. When you presume, you make a press out of you and me. Wait. Over in Lily Cove City, May tells us how much fun it is to go shopping before getting trounced. Honestly, the only one of her Pokemon who did damage to us was Pelipper. All of 11 HP. At least Wally had the good sense to give up the first time we beat him. We visit Maxie at his hideout, just as he's trying to use the blue orb to control Crawdaunt. Before Crawdaunt's like, nope. Somehow, Maxie manages to blame us for this, so challenges us to a battle. Because it couldn't possibly be you who were in the wrong, could it, Maxie? Mightyena once again cuts our attack with Intimidate, but we have Surf now, which handily deals with him. Crobat unsurprisingly outspeeds us and hits us with a wing attack, but one strength puts him in Super Potion range, and we're able to put him down only taking a Confuse Ray. Maxie's last Pokemon is Camerupt, but we have Surf now, so one hit finishes the fight. When it comes to Tate and Liza, they refuse to fight me if I only have one Pokemon. But lucky for me, I have an adopted abomination lurking in the depths of my PC. So yes, I had to drag Castform along for this fight, but it is so underleveled that I knew it wouldn't last the first round. Lucky for us in this fight, Surf hits both opponents and actually does a lot of damage. Xatu hits Castform with a Psychic and he drops. More annoyingly, a Hyper Potion is used on Claydol, so it survives another Surf, unlike Xatu, who goes down. One more takes out Claydol and leaves Solrock with the tiniest amount of health, but a Citrus Berry apparently takes it out of Hyper Potion range as it sets up the sun. One more Surf finishes it off, and it's at this point I realize that Lunatone's only attacking move is Psychic, which doesn't affect Subscribe because they're a Dark type. So as Lunatone just keeps boosting its special defense, we spam Strength until it finally decides to give up and die. We then find Maxie throwing a hissy fit and trying to steal a rocket to compensate for his deflated manhood, and apparently ex-League champion Steven somehow can't handle him and his crony on his own. So as always, we have to step up to save the day. Mightyena cuts our attack with Intimidate, but that doesn't matter as we'll just be using Surf in this fight. It takes Mightyena to about 1/4 health and takes out Camerupt in one hit, before Steven finishes off Mightyena. Our next Surf does exactly the same thing. Mightyena goes down to 1/4 health, and Camerupt falls in one hit. But this time Metang just sets up a light screen, letting us take a scary face. Crobat hits Steven and we get hit with a takedown from Mightyena, before our Surf takes it out, and does just under half to Crobat. It mean looks us so we can't switch, which is super inconvenient, and Golbat hits Metang with a wing attack before it then takes out Crobat with a Psychic. Our final Surf finishes Golbat. With that done, we give Steven a home visit, and he gives us the HM for Dive. Of course though, our moveset is full, so we need to go see our friend, the Move Deleter. Then we go hunt down Archie, who tells us that if we don't want to be his friend, then we're not allowed in his clubhouse. Mightyena, you guessed it, cuts our attack with Intimidate, but falls in one Surf. Crobat confuses us and makes Subscribe hit herself, and then takes a wing attack as Strength does very little. Despite that, Archie uses a Super Potion. We use Strength again, and again Archie Super Potions. So we switch to Surf and take Crobat down to red health. We take one final wing attack before Crobat goes down. Sharpedo holds on from a Surf, but just uses Taunt, so faints in the next turn. Archie tries to use the red orb to force Kyogre to be his friend, but Kyogre bails. So, now that two giant beasts of legend are doing battle, it seems like the best solution anyone has for this problem is to send a child to awaken a third creature with even greater power to put them in their place. So once I single-handedly bring peace to the entire region, I'm granted the final HM and the opportunity to take on the last gym leader, who, without any sense of irony, has a love disc on his team. It goes down in one hit. His Whiscash takes 2 strength to take out, and hits us with an Earthquake. Celio also takes 2 strength, and nails us with a Body Slam. Crawdaunt gets off a Crab Hammer, as it too takes 2 strengths, and then it's on to Kingdra. Our strength takes him to just over half his health as he sets up a double team. I swap to Surf to keep him out of Hyper Potion range, but I miss, and he just goes for rest anyway, and wakes up immediately due to his Chesto Berry. We still use Surf to do a little damage and take an Ice Beam, putting us in yellow health. Subscribe misses her next attack, and we get hit with another Ice Beam. We hit a Strength, taking Kingdra to below half health, but he sets up another double team, which makes us miss our next attack, and gives him the opportunity to rest again. This time though, without his Chesto Berry, we have 3 free turns to attack. We manage to hit them all, and take the win. Finally, we can go to the Elite Four, but not before visiting our friend the Move Deleter, to get rid of Dive for Waterfall. In a surprising turn of events, at the end of Victory Road, Wally decides to show up out of nowhere. We haven't seen this kid since we beat up his routes back in Mauville City. And unfortunately for him, I'd say that fight was less embarrassing. Because Altaria goes down in 2 strengths, only setting up a useless safeguard. Then Roselia is a one-hit KO, as is Magneton. Delcat holds on from a strength, but misses a Sing, so goes down next turn. And Gardevoir, although also taking 2 hits, just uses Calm Mind, which won't help against strength. Which ultimately means we beat Wally without taking a single point of damage. Kinda feel sorry for the kid. Nevertheless, we move on to the Elite Four. Sydney starts off with Mightyena, and by now, you know what the score is. Cacturne takes 2 strengths to go down, but because it got us with Cotton Spore, his team outspeed us, and before we can finish him off, we get nailed with a Needle Arm, which does massive damage. Shiftry is more annoying than dangerous, having only 1 attacking move and extra sensory, which doesn't affect us. He just keeps going for a combination of Double Team, Torment, and Swagger. Subscribe hits herself for about half her remaining health, before finally finishing off Shiftry. Then Crawdaunt goes down to a crit, having only tried to set up in its turn, and although Absol hits a Rock Slide, it isn't enough to take us out before we put it down with Surf. Phoebe sucks for one reason. If her Dusclops uses Curse, we lose. On this run, however, we get lucky, and instead, she only gets Double Protect, confuses us, makes us hit ourselves twice, and gets into Shadow Punches before we finally snap out of confusion, and it goes down. Fortunately, Bayonet goes down in 1 Surf, but Sableye holds on with a tiny amount of HP, but just sets up a double team. Phoebe uses a Hyper Potion, that doesn't end up mattering, as we land our next 2 hits, taking out Sableye. Her second Dusclop takes about half its health from a Waterfall, and then retaliates with an Earthquake. Then our Waterfall doesn't quite do the job, so we take another Earthquake. A Citrus Berry heals it out of full restore range, and allows for 1 more Waterfall to finish off Dusclops. Her second Bayonet holds on from a Surf and uses Grudge, which isn't given the chance to do anything, as she just full restores before I can move again. And Bayonet once again holds on from our attack. But 1 more ends the battle. I thought I was doing well, until I fought Glacia. Not since Watson had our playthrough hit a brick wall like this. No matter what I did, I could not get through the sheer bulk of her wall rain. So I had to go away, grind up, and come back at level 69. Nice. This time round, I can take out both of her Celios in 2 strengths. The first one sets up the Hail, but apparently in Gen 3 that doesn't mean Blizzard always hits, so we take out her second one after she misses her attack. Her first Glalie comes out and we're able to land a critical hit to take it down in 1 Surf, then it's on to Wall Rain. Strength does just under half damage, and despite us resisting her Surf, it still really hurts. 1 more Strength gets her into red health, but a Citrus Berry heals her just enough so that Glacia doesn't potion, and 1 more hit finishes it. Her second Glalie hangs on from a Surf, and hits us with an Icy Wind, making us slower than her. Then Glacia pulls out the full restore. We Surf again, she goes back down to red health, and Glacia full restores again. We Surf once more, this time not getting it into red health, manage to hang on from an Ice Beam, and are able to end the battle. Then there's Drake. Drake is a freaking beast. I had no way through him, no matter how much I tried. So once again, I was forced to leave, grind up, and come back at level 81. After so many attempts though, I knew the exact sequence of events that was required for victory. His Shelgon usually started with Protect, but I needed him to try a second one and fail so that I could take him out in 2 Surfs and not have our speed lowered by Rock Tomb. Luckily we get a crit, so the second Surf wasn't necessary. Then Altaria had to Dragon Dance, but at this level it no longer outspeeds us after only 1, so 2 strengths can put it down. Ideally Kingdra would go for 2 Dragon Dances, but instead he smokescreens us with his second attack before falling. Annoying, but we still haven't taken damage, which is the most important thing. At this level, Flygon will always go down in 1 Surf, but if Rock Tomb had slowed us down earlier in the fight, we'd have taken an Earthquake and would stand no chance against Salamence. His Intimidate really hurts us, as Surf is resisted, but it's now the best chance we have. It's a 3-hit KO, but Dragon Claw will kill us in 4. On our second attack, we miss and get put into yellow health. We hit our Surf and get his Citrus Berry to proc, as we're taken down to just 42 HP. Fortunately, we land our next Surf and are able to finally beat Drake. Lance has nothing on this Dragon Master. By comparison, Wallace is a cakewalk. We're able to take out Wailord in 2 hits, and lucky for us, it uses Double Edge. Why is that lucky? Because Ludicolo has Swift Swim, so if he'd set up the Rain, the chances of us getting nailed by a Giga Drain is exponentially higher. In this run though, he sets up a double team as we take him to low health. Wallace then heals him up, but we land our next 2 strengths and are able to take him down. If Tentacruel hits Toxic, we lose. Instead he goes for Hydro Pump, and misses, so we get to move on to Milotic, who again, if they hit Toxic, we lose. But they just go for a resisted Surf, so we get to continue fighting. Whiscash takes a lot of damage from Strength as it sets up an Amnesia. Wallace heals, allowing us to take out Whiscash in 2 more hits. I switch to Waterfall for Gyarados as it usually takes 3 hits and keeps him out of healing range, but we get a crit to take him to below half health. It Dragon Dances and makes itself faster and stronger, but we hold on from an Earthquake, and a Strength is enough to grant us the victory, allowing Subscribe to gain her place in the Hall of Fame. Officially, this is the end of the game, and I could stop here and call this challenge complete. But that just wouldn't be right now, would it? So after swapping the Silk Scarf out for Mystic Water, I head off to face this game's final boss, the true champion of Hoenn, Steven Stone. First out is Skarmory, who likes to use Toxic and takes 2 Surfs to go down, so usually ends this fight before it starts. But on this run, it just sets up spikes. Now switching's going to be more inconvenient. Aggron's Bulk can't help him as 1 Surf takes it down. Then it's Cradily, whose Giga Drain can really mess us up. It seems like I get lucky with our first Surf doing about half its health, and it just goes for Confuse Ray. But our second Surf low rolls and leaves it with like 1 HP, so it lands a Giga Drain before we're able to finish it off. Claydol also goes down in 1 Surf, and then it's on to the big threat of this fight, Metagross. We break out of Confusion and do just under half its health with a Surf, but their Earthquake takes us down to 17 HP. 1 more Surf puts them in red health, and I expect the worst, but they actually miss Meteor Mash. Steven heals them up, and in some kind of miracle, 2 Surfs are enough to put Metagross down, and then Armaldo is taken out in 1 Surf. And with that, it's over. Somewhat anticlimactically. But after Drake, I don't think anyone could really seem difficult. This challenge started off stupidly difficult, eased off in the middle, and then ramped up hard at the end. But with it done, I've now completed 3 regions with these challenge rules. Which means that next, we have to take on the challenge that sparked the idea for this entire series. Using the Pokemon who embodies the term HM Slave. So, I hope you enjoyed this, and that you'll join me for Can You Beat Pokemon Platinum with only HM Slaves? Until then, I'll catch you later.